Hello. Welcome. If you're listening to this on Catch Up, I'm excited to be going live again, second time in like a week, which is interesting because I teach live a lot, but then when I come on here to chat, it's just different. And really cool to connect with everyone. So I'm just going to give it a couple moments and see who pops on. Hi guys. Hi Luke. Been a while. Nice to see you here. How you doing? Welcome. We'll give it a few moments and see who pops on. Gonna have a little chat about alignment and kind of where that whole concept came from. For me, it really has been from lived experience. And hi, Belinda. And so I wanted to share a little bit, actually just starting off with a story from one of my classes this week. And after class, I had a woman who had come for the first time to one of my classes, and she hasn't done tons of yoga. She's done a little bit of online yoga and has not joined in person. And she, after class, I asked her, how was that? How do you feel? How was class? And her response was, I feel like I've just had a massage. And I was like, that's exactly what it is. Like, the physical practice of yoga is like this self-massage. But I'm not going to go into that part. And then I just want to add, and then the second woman said, well, for her, what's really been a key reflection and something that she's noticed is that her relationship with her family is better since she started yoga. And so I wanted to bring those two little parts in because when we think of being in alignment, I think often we can go into the mindset of like doing the work or like self-improvement, or I'm doing this so that I can be better, or I'm doing this so that this can be better, or even almost the opposite of that in a way is, and it's something that irks me a little bit in the wellness world, in the yoga world, is, and I'm probably guilty of this too, but I hope that I convey my message in the way that I'd like to. But things like yoga for anxiety or meditation for anxiety, those kinds of things, I think it's so important to remember that you're not doing those things to get rid of the anxiety, to get rid of those things that you're feeling. You're actually showing up to be able to participate in the experience that you're having. And some emotions can make us really uncomfortable, and some can be quite heavy, and some can be quite intense. And of course, we love to feel the love and the joy and the happiness and the excitement and the fun and all of those things. But we need to realize that we are, as a whole being, and that means we experience all the spectrums of emotions. And so for me, the journey of alignment, and to come back to the story of the two women, to embody, to feel into the body, because the body keeps the score, right? There's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, if you haven't watched that or read that. The body keeps the score. And then also to notice how, as within, so without. So these changes that start to happen within you, start to see how that shifts things in the world around you. And it's not always the way that we expect it to. It's often very different. We have no control over that, really. But we can show up for ourselves and start tapping into alignment, in the sense, hi everyone, welcome, in the sense of what's really worked for me I know that, when we go on these self-improvement kind of journeys, we want to add. Like if I do more yoga, I feel better. If I drink my green juices, if I go for walks, if I don't know, there's like a million different, if I read the book, if I watch the TED Talk. And so we're bringing all these things in. And it's so good to do those things. Like they can become incredible support tools, and things that we can really reach for when we need it. But ultimately, the symptoms, we're like treating the symptoms instead of going into the root cause of why am I feeling this in the first place? Why is my body showing up these certain symptoms? Where is that coming from? And so to share a bit of a personal share, I had quite a scary experience the other day. And things like this just I don't know, it just makes me feel so aligned in what I know, in what I've experienced, and to really trust myself, which is always a tough one. But basically what happened was I had an extremely emotional conversation with someone about very deep things just before I went into a 90-minute, very deep asana practice, which thereafter was followed by a cup of tea with another friend also going into really deep, heart conversations. And all of a sudden sitting there, I literally just felt my heart just feel like I couldn't breathe, and this pain in my chest. And I literally thought I was having a heart attack, because I've never experienced that in my life before, that kind of pain. And I rushed to the hospital, and they were they did all the tests, literally they did chest x-ray, they did the ECGs, they did blood tests, they did everything. And every test that they did on the physical body showed that I am the picture of health. There's nothing really wrong. And it really gave me a moment to reflect on how our emotions and our energetics are so connected, so tied in to the physical body. And this really is where my alignment journey started. And it's funny because, alignment is such a spoken about thing in yoga asana. When you're in class, it's am I in the correct alignment for this pose? And I think that there's a beauty to the discipline of finding alignment within your postures, but also understanding that the holding of the posture becomes this frame, this scaffolding that holds us in the posture. But internally, there is so much happening. There's so much happening. And so if we're looking at what we are doing in our lives to align ourselves, to be able to experience what's really going on in the inside, that's the safety nets that we set up for ourselves, right? So just to come back to the adding, so we can add a million things. You can start doing all the things, as I mentioned earlier. You can start drinking the juices, eating the salads, going for the walks, journaling, whatever it is that you're adding on. But for me, it's been through asana practice, yoga practice on my mat. It's been through stillness and sitting in meditation. It's been through transformation internally with breath work, with energy work. That have really been three key pillars in me looking at not what is aligned, but what is not aligned. And the more we're able to see what is not aligned for us, the more it becomes clear what is aligned for us. And that is beautiful, because you're already doing things that are supporting you. you're already making decisions that are aligned. You're already showing up for yourself in certain ways. You're already doing the things. So, hey Katie. So where the disconnect comes really is, and I speak out of my own journey, has been looking at what is not in alignment. And when I've started to remove those things, I'm trying to think of like a good metaphor for this. Like, you start to like steer yourself in a more aligned direction because you're not being pulled out of alignment by those things any longer, by the beliefs that you have that no longer serve you, by the programming that you've been running that you weren't aware of, by toxic relationships that you find yourself in, by committing to things or overcommitting to things when you can really feel inside you that is not what you should be doing, or like that's really like, we've all had those moments where after we've had a conversation, like afterwards you're like, oh damn it, like I actually wanted to say this thing, or like that's actually not how I wanted to react, or like, and we get caught up in the hype of emotions, definitely, especially in intense conversations and interactions with other people. But I just ran the 4-week cleanse, and one of the biggest things that we speak about in that throughout the 4 weeks is kindness, self-love, self-compassion, patience, forgiveness. And why these are so important is because we could probably all make a list as long as our arms of ways in which we'd like to improve, like things that I'd like to be better at, things that I'd like to do better, ways I'd like to show up more, ways I'd like to act better. Like, we set these bars for ourselves, but even when we meet it, like even when we meet that like new version of ourselves that perhaps a year or 2 or 3 ago, you kind of like, just felt like, oh, like I want to get to feel in that certain way. And then you get to that point and then we just lift the bar again. And then we just lift the bar again. So there's this absence of contentment, which is taught in the 8 limbs of yoga, Santosha. And it's, I had this like download the other day that was quite hectic and quite scary actually for me, because we have this vision of like who we can be and like where we're going to be one day. Oh, when I get to that version of myself, then life is going to be fly. Like if I'm hitting those goals, if I've hit those, tick those boxes, like then I'm going to be like super, super happy, because then I'm going to be like the highest version of myself or the best version of myself or whatever the case might be. And I got this download of, okay, so, and this is quite intense, but I was like, so what if you don't wake up tomorrow, Kathleen? Like, what if you right now, this version of yourself, what if this is it? What if this is it? What if this is you? And there isn't going to be the next life, part of your life, because we don't know how long we have here. And so when does it become time where you go, cool, I can be in this version and I can be okay with her or him or whoever. Like, I can be okay with it. And is the word. And a lot of coaches speak about this. A lot of my mentors speak about this as well. Is it doesn't have to be an or. So it's not like I'm this or I'm that. If you change the or with the and, it becomes I'm content with who I am, and I know that I have things that I'd like to change. But this foundational understanding that alignment is on a soul level. Alignment is not, oh, I'm living in alignment because I'm going for my jog every day and I'm drinking my green juice and blah, 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 all those things that we keep ourselves mentally busy with or distracted by, but that alignment is something that happens on a very deep soul level. And we have our intuition. And if you've never played with your intuition, I highly recommend that you start playing with your intuition a little bit more, testing it out, playing around with it, being curious. When do I trust myself? When do I not trust myself? Like our gut, like your gut feeling, your gut knowing. Like my dad always taught me from like a very little girl. My dad always said, Kathleen, for you there is a right and wrong. And I don't really like to use the words right and wrong, but so I kind of changed it to be like there's aligned and not aligned. And he said to me, you will always know which is which. It doesn't matter what decision you're making, if it's like a really big decision, like if it's a big life-changing decision, or if it's a tiny little day-to-day optic that you're trying to take care of. Like you will always know what is in alignment for you and what is not. But because of trauma, because of programming, because of life, because of the craziness of this world, that inner knowing, that inner voice gets dulled down. And sometimes we don't even listen to it because it can get in the way of us just simply being productive or getting on with life. Because that little voice says something that might actually make your life more challenging in the short term, but long term, following that guide long term, that is what brings us to a place of freedom and of peace, and ultimately brings us into that feeling of alignment. And so yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts on this, because aligned living really wasn't just like something that I like went on to like ChatGPT and I was like, give me some cool names or whatever. Like aligned living actually came to me through a download. And it was so very clear, and it just landed in me because I was like, yes, like that has been my journey. And the more women I speak to, the more I realize how we are all on such a similar journey. And I had this discussion with a friend, when was it? Oh, it doesn't matter. Yesterday or today. Yesterday. And I said, the mission of aligned living, one of the missions, I feel like there's a few, but one of the main missions of aligned living is to say to every woman on this planet, every person on this planet, is that you are your own healer and you do not have to do this alone. I'll say it one more time. You are your own healer and you do not have to do this alone. And so the healing happens from within. But the support tools and the support structures to give ourselves, to gift ourselves with, to bless ourselves with, for so many of us, which we do have access to these things, there are a lot of people who do not have access to these things. Finding really what works for you and what supports you, and finding devotion and ritual in the smaller things. I think I spoke about this the other day when I was talking about box breath and about the pause at the top of the inhale and the pause at the bottom of the inhale, the in-between spaces. So you've got like your inhale, which is like an active thing. You've got your exhale, which is an active thing. And then you've almost got these two spaces at the top and the bottom. And I feel like we've got those spaces in life. Like it's almost like those spaces are like the ordinary times or the ordinary things in like air quotes that we do, where we wait for these really profound moments in life to really live. Like we're so overly stimulated, like mentally, emotionally, sensory, socially. Everything is so big, everything is so in our face that we're actually desensitized to be able to appreciate subtleness. and simplicity and silence. And yoga, breath work, meditation are all practices that have been practiced for hundreds years by many different traditions, all gearing you to bring yourself into simplicity. Simplify. And that kind of brings me back to what I started off by saying here about the adding on. Like when we want to be in alignment, we're like, cool, I'm going to be a better version, so I'm going to do all the things. When actually we need to be doing less things. Like we need to be simplifying. And so when we get on our mat and we slow down, that's actually often when we feel even more overwhelmed, because now there's no distractions and you actually just there with like catching your own feels and experiencing. And so often I know, well, my sister probably won't like mind me telling the story, but I mean, I've also had many experiences, but my sister did one of my classes in which we were doing breath work and we were sitting in Hakini Mudra, and she just had this extreme anger come up in her. And I was like, it's not the Hakini Mudra that made you feel angry, right? Like the practices show us what is going on within us. The practices give us an opportunity to hold space, to experience that, to integrate it, to transform it, to absorb, to release, and ultimately to find more clarity, more calmness. And so that's just a little bit about alignment. And I'd love to hear from anyone who's watched this, or if you're listening now, if you've got any questions about anything, I'm here and we're live. So you can say hi, you can ask a question if you have. You're also welcome to send me a private DM if you want to chat about anything. But I guess I just leave you with, a key point of like summary of what I've said in this conversation, which the topic is, what is alignment really? And to me, alignment is about simplifying. It's about looking at the things in your life with kindness, compassion, patience, and forgiveness. Choosing, right? Choosing to let things go, let people go, let situations go that are no longer in the interest of your growth. And again, you hold it all with love, and you understand that sometimes letting something go is going to be quite easy, and sometimes letting something go is going to take a little bit longer. But if you really ask yourself, like, maybe there is something in your life that you went through that was like really, really hard at the time, or someone that you were really struggling to forgive, or yourself that you were really struggling to forgive for a certain situation. And perhaps there is a time where you have been able to give yourself that forgiveness. You have been able to move past it or forgive that person, or, really just let it go. And so you have the ability to do that. And so when you're looking and reflecting on what alignment is to you, taking the time to slow down, get on your mat, do seated meditation, just connect to your breath. It's simple. You don't have to do fancy things. You don't have to go on a fancy eating plan. You don't have to go on a fancy training plan. You don't have to do all the things. I guess there are many things that we can do that do help and support, but keep it simple. Keep it simple. And you will always know. You will always know. Pause to connect to your intuition, to your gut, to the messaging, to the voice, to the truth that is within you. and you'll always know. And if you're not sure, give yourself a bit of time, a bit of space to really let that land with you. Yeah, I am going to pause on that note. And I'm excited to chat a little bit more with everyone here. So please, when you pop on, you're also welcome to say hi or let me know where you're checking in from. If you have any questions, as I said, send me a DM or leave a comment. I hear my dogs barking outside. They would just be too wild to have in here. So I'm going to go so that I can let my dogs in and have a beautiful Sunday evening. Tomorrow is again a new day of a new week, which I always love to see as new opportunity. So I hope that you rest well, and I look forward to connecting. Lots of love. Bye.